Okay, let's get started. I am sorry I'm late. I was stuck behind someone. I had to wait over 5 minutes in the parking lot. Somebody was parking, and I was having a little trouble backing in. It's a little congestion now because we don't have to back. Okay, let's see if we can get started. We are learning about standing up and respecting the elders. So we are up to the bottom of Daf Lamed Beis, Amud Beis. And we were up to the 2 dots. Tonu Rabbonon, it's about 20 lines at the bottom, but 15 lines up in the thinner lines of the Gemara. Tonu Rabbonon, Mipnei Sevetokum. We must stand up for old people. V'adarta pnei zaken. You should respect the face of a zaken. Mipnei Sevetokum. Yochel afilu mipnei zaken hashmoi. What if he's a zaken but a bal avera? Do you have to stand up for him? Tamalim zaken. Vein zoken elachochem, zoken is a frequent Rashi says of zeh shekana chochem. Shenemar esveli shivim ish miziknei Yisrael. Those shivim ish were from the holiest of Klal Yisrael. They definitely were not zoken hashmoi. I'm sorry. Beni wouldn't be a problem because it says only a zoken hashmoi we're excluding, but the hashmoi means he's a balaver. So Beni probably would stand up for. Zok to Gemara. The definition of zaken is only somebody who is kohen chachma, even if he's not old. Shenemar Hashem Kanani Reishis Darka. Hashem was kohen. Me. What was Hashem kohen? What's the king of Hashem? Clearly chachma. And Hashem was kohen chachma. Yochel lamoid mipanav mimakam racharik. You might think we know you have to stand up for an old person. They're within 4 amas. What if they're far away? You see them coming, but they're not close yet. Hamad Leimer, Takum v'yadarta. It says, they say Takum v'yadarta pnei zoke. So we combine the Takum v'yadarta. When should you stand up? That if it gives respect to the person. But if he's so far away, that doesn't even give him respect. Yochel yihadrenu b'mamoy. Maybe you have to give him money too, as part of the heater. Hamad Leimer, Takum v'yadarta. Just like standing up for him doesn't cost you anything. Yochel lamoid yamoid mipanav mibeis hakisei mibeis hamerchet. You might think that you have to give him covet in these places as well. But loymar takum v'yadarta. Loymar tikimel b'makom sheishider, in a place where it's like respectful. In a beis hamerchet, in a beis hakisei, I guess it doesn't show that same level of admiration and respect. Here, you can have that bathroom first, right? When you're waiting sometimes online. You might think that you're allowed to make believe you don't see the guy, and then you don't have to stand up for him. Talmud Leimer Takum, right? Just if they say Takum, v'yareisa melekacha. So whenever it says v'yareisa melekacha, it's always where you can fudge it and you can make believe like you didn't notice. Dover hamaser l'leif. Whenever it's a davar masar leiv, nemer boy v'yireishim alakav. Hashem knows what you're thinking. How do you know that if a zaken can find a different way to come in, or come at a different time, so he's not matriach people to stand up? That's what you should do. A zaken also have to have yira to put the tirch on the tibur. Easy ben Yehuda Omer, they save a tokum, afilu kol save a b'mashma. Not just a chacham. Any old person. Isn't that the same thing that the Tanakama says? It was only Rabbi Shegli is just saying Chachma as well, right? So the Tanakama as well said it's a Zaken who has Chachma. So what if he's not old? What if he's young, but he's a big Talmud Chacham? Tanakama sover yonik v'chacham loy. The Tanakama holds he has to be Sayach Chacham, and Sayi has to be old in order for you to be mechuyev to stand up for him. Rabbi Yosy Gli sover afilu yonik v'chacham, even if he's young. My time is Rabbi Yosy Gli. Amrullah, he'll tell you clearly from the pasuk. There's 2 separate characters that we're discussing, but the pasuk is discussing when it tells you to stand up. Yisol gedayach chedamer Tanakama that it's just one person, a zaken and a chacham. Bundle it all together. But it says mipnei seva takum, comma, the adarta pnei zokin. It's talking about two people. My shna de palginu rachmana lememar. My shna de palginu rachmana, comma, lememar the high laf high, the high laf high. They're two different people. He doesn't see that these two are separated. Mishum, you know why it separates it that way, even though it's really only referring to one person? Is Mishum the boile mismech zokin v'yaresa. We needed the word zokin to be right near v'yaresa because of what we learned a moment ago, that a zokin should avoid being honored by trying to come at a different time. V'tanakama, my time. What does word Tanakama? Why doesn't he want to say that we're talking about two different people? He saw that we're talking about two different people, and Cain, it should have said everything twice. And then talking about Adarta, which applies everything to both people. With Lakazavachi, Shmamin we're talking about one person who's a Zakan and a Chazak. Amamar, now we're going to drill down a little bit on the brayso that we learned. You might think you have to give a Zakan money. Takum v'Adarta. Makima shem b'chasarkis, afhidu shem b'chasarkis. Frankly, more v'kima less b'chasarkis. Are you telling me pausing for a moment and standing up is not costing money? Is the mitzvah targeted at specific people, or is the mitzvah targeted to everybody? It's targeted to everybody. Well, as part of everybody, Milo Yaskina the Kanaka Marganisa. What if he's a fellow who makes $10,000 an hour because he makes holes in special diamonds? That is an extremely difficult trade, and he makes huge money. He's definitely losing money, and therefore, clearly from Kima you can't bring a raya that it doesn't cost anything. So because of that, we have to take a more roundabout route. But it shouldn't cost. It shouldn't cost you anything, right? Giving money costs, but also not working costs. Ela akish kima lehida. Let's compare first kima to hida. Mahidu she'ein babitl. Just showing somebody respect, there's no bittul mutlach in that. Av kima she'ein babitl. From there we learned that it has to be the type of kima that won't be mevatel you from your malacha. Once you know the kima is a type of kima that's not mevatel you from malacha, then we can turn around. Bakish nami hidur lekima makima she'ein b'chasaron kis av hidur she'ein b'chasaron kis. Mikan amru. Ein bali umniyosh b'shoyin lamod mipnei talmidei chachamim b'shah she'oshkim b'malachta. Someone who's working on the clock is not allowed to even stand up for a talmid chacham while they're on the job. Of course, while they're working for a third party, if they're working for themselves, it's a different story, as Tosha speaks out. Are you telling me that the bali umniyosh don't have to stand up? But not called bali umniyosh oimdim mipneim. When the Yidden came with Bikurim, it was in a big parade. They came with a band. It was a whole bunch of fanfare, Yidden coming to Bikurim. And the halacha was that they have to be very warmly greeted when they arrive in Yerushalayim. And therefore the Mishnah says, how you doing? How's your trip? The people of Ashdod who are now arriving with their procession. Come in peace, we're so happy you're here. Every single guest that comes to bring their Bikurim needs to get a very, very warm welcome from the locals. Don't ask me, Akasha, there they stand. Yes, they stand and they greet and they warmly welcome. People bring the Bikurim even more than Talmidei Chacham. Because Talmidei Chacham, they're not allowed to get up, they're not allowed to be mevatel Mlachta. And we're going to soon see why. Doing a mitzvah while in the right time, while you're doing it, that's such a great thing. So we're bringing a riot to the chavivus of mitzvah b'shaita. When you do a mitzvah in the right time, it's such a beautiful thing, and everybody gets up and cheers. Who said that's the reason why everybody gets up and cheers? Maybe you don't have a right for mitzvah b'shaita. Imagine this guy from Ashdod didn't want to make the trip, schlep, and they told him, no, you have to come, but Simcha, they make a whole big deal. He says it to Yerushalayim, and no one even gives him a second look. They feel unwelcome. You know what? I'm not coming next year. I don't need this anymore. As Rashi says, Nimsa Machshilon, Shaloi Viwai. So Yoimu Nivzim Anu Beinayim. We were vuzed their eyes. The Lav Mishum Chib Mitzvah, it was not because of Chib of Mitzvah. It's not because Mitzvah B'Shaita. It's only because they don't want people to feel Nivzim. Ve'ilu b'nei Adam, and he korim chashuvin be'ir, v'asukim b'mitzvahs, l'hav l'mekim mekamayim. But lav dafka, someone doing another mitzvah b'zmanoi, lav dafka, do you have to welcome the people to stop bringing bikurim. I had my microphone off. I apologize if someone said something I didn't mean. Yochel lamoid. Notices. Yochel yamid mipadav. He basically he's besamechos. Veloy, you don't. For Yosy, he was sitting in the bathhouse. The cholif also Rab Shimon by Rebbe. And he didn't stand up. So you see, in fact, even in the base of Merchot, you have to stand up. Also, and he came. He went to his father. I can't understand. Your son didn't respect me. I taught him 2 out of the 5 chumashim in Rashi. He shows us where the breaks are. Or Tosfos speaks of where the breaks are in the 5 sections of Tillim. I taught him 2 out of 5. He didn't stand in front. He didn't stand up for me. So you see, even in the base of Merchot, who's also in the bathhouse. Again, he was upset. He also he told his father, I taught him 2/3 of 1/3. So Torah's Kahanim is split up into 3 sections, and I taught him 2/3 of one of the sections. That's a significant amount of Torah. And he told him, Shema Yoshev U'Maharer, Shema Behen Yoshev, maybe those very Mishnayos that you taught him, maybe he was vertracht in the base of Merchot, thinking and learning about what you yourself taught him. Who said he was vertracht about that? Maybe it's a vertracht on a different sugya, right? So Tosfos says it must be Seid Hashem Lireov. Tzaddikim, no, he was able to know what Yena was thinking. Umahar, Zok Tamar, time of the Behen Yoshev Umahar. The whole excuse why he wouldn't have stood up is because he was vertracht and he didn't notice his Rebbe come in. You see, otherwise you wouldn't stand up. So tomorrow, otherwise you would have to stand up. In the mikveh, there's 2 places. There's a place right by the mikveh, everyone gets undressed. That's not what we have covered. But then there's the outer area where they sell wine and tabak for Shabbos. That's where you still have respect. You're allowed to think and learning. So you were saying he was thinking and learning. He wouldn't have been thinking and learning inside. So that's probably what was outside, and that's why he should have stood up. So you don't have a right from that because maybe by mistake he was thinking and learning in the base of Margaret in the inner chamber, and you don't realize. So you can't bring me a right from the fact that he was thinking and learning that it had to be in the outer chamber. Is the Torah going to say Kiddushin to you to address somebody who's purposely trying to avoid a mitzvah? He knows he's mechuyev, but he's going to make believe he's not mechuyev? That cannot be what the Torah is addressing. He sees him from a distance. So he starts to close his eyes and he continues. This way, by the time he gets within his Daled Amos, he doesn't see him. He's not faking it, he doesn't see him. But he because he avoided to see him. He doesn't see him at that moment. You have to have Yirah Shamayim, and if you know someone's coming, let yourself become mechuyev to stand up for him. If someone's with Daled Amos, that's when standing up for somebody shows respect to them, makes them look good. It's mechabed. A regular Rebbe who's not a Rebbe Muvik, you stand up when he's within 4 Amos. The moment you see him, no matter how far away he is, you must stand up for him. When he would see from a distance just the ears of the donkey of his Rebbe Rabbi Yosef coming over the hilltop, and that was the first thing he would see. I don't know how he recognized that those were his Rebbe's donkey's ears. Dasi have a coin, he would stand up right away. Abai was once riding a donkey. He was riding along the riverbank. And then there were Rabbanim who were Talmidim of Abai sitting on the other side of the river. And they didn't stand up for him. Am I not your Rav Muvik? You should be standing up for me because you could see me from a distance. We didn't notice you. Omar Abaye, Natina, the Imapik Chai. It's a good thing to avoid making people stand up for you. It's going to lead to a long life. It has a very, very good side effect. Abaya Makiv. Abaya used to dafka go another way. I don't think Abaya lived long because he was from the sons of Eli, but he tried. Reb Zeir Makiv, Ravina, have a Yosef Kamed, Reb Yirmiyah Midifti. He was sitting in front of Yirmiyah Midifti. Somebody walked by him, and he wasn't covering his head, which is the appropriate attire when you're walking by a rov to have something covering your head. Amar, whenever a woman goes into a rebbe, they always cover their head, right? Amar, kama chotzev hagavra. What of a chotzev? He doesn't have the respect for a rov as he's walking by. Amalei told him, no, lav dafka. Dilma mimasa mechasiniyu the gisi b'rabbanim. In Masa Mechasya, there was a city where there's a lot of rabbanim there, and everybody was buddies with the rabbanim. So in Mela, there wasn't that same level of reverence. So that's why he doesn't have that respect. But in a normal city, Avada, he would have had the respect. Rashi's the Gisi Rabbanim, Tomid Regilim Eslam. There's always rabbanim there. Believem gas b'chachamim kilo heimehem. People already are buddy with them. Easy ben Yehuda Aimer mipnei seva tokum, v'afilu kol seva b'mashma. All old people. Omar B'yachin halacha ki Easy ben Yehuda, that you have to stand up in front of everybody, even if he's not a chacham. Okay? Zog to Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan have a kamakame sabi darmoi. He would stand up even in front of the old goyim, even if the old goyim. You know why? Omar kama harftaki adu alayu dahani. And Rashi says they lived through so many nisim, the krois, the tzaras, these are marbi muslim. The experience that these people have, that alone is a reason why I should stand up for him, and therefore he stood up for the goyim. Rather make him loikoi. He didn't stand up for these goyim, but hither avad lahu, he nodded his head at them. He showed them a certain level of honor. Abai yoi v'yoda l'sabi. He would stick his hand out if they were coming to help them walk, and let them lean upon him. Rabbi Meshader Shluchim. He wouldn't go himself if he felt it wasn't covered a Torah, but he sent one of his Shluchim. Rav Nachman Meshader Guzoi. He would send, Rashi says he had policemen. Rav Nachman always had police around him, because I guess he was a politician. He was the minister of the son-in-law of the Nasi, Rav Bezin Hayu. So because of that, they gave him special guards. So he wouldn't go himself. He felt it wasn't covered for his position, but he sent his guards. Omar, Ilav Torah, if it wasn't for the Torah, Kama Nachman Bar Abba Ika B'Shuka. So it's not my honor that I have to respect, it's the honor of the Torah. Omar Rabbi Ivu, Omar Rabbi Yanai. Rabbi Ivu said the name of Rabbi Yanai. Ein Talmud Chacham B'Shrei Lamed Pnei Rabba. A Talmud Chacham is not allowed to stand up in front of his Rebbe because it wastes time, except El Shachris Arbus, twice a day. So the covenant of his Rebbe, how often do we say Kriya Shema? Twice a day. We don't want his covenant to be greater than Kvod Shemayim, so therefore twice a day is enough. Meisvei, Rav Shimon Lazar, Rimnayin Lazar Shalei Triach, Tamalom Zakein V'Yaresa. The Amr Shachris Varvis Bilvad. If you're telling me that you only stand up for your Rebbe twice a day, Amai Loi Nitrach Chiyubi. Why shouldn't you be Mitriach? In other words, why should you avoid him those 2 times? Those 2 times is a chiyuv. It's the same amount as the covenant we give to the Rebbe Shalom. El Alav Kula Yoima. It must be all day, meaning Vaisachois, a Talmud Chacham would have to stand up for his Rebbe all day. And for that, we're saying that the Zakin should avoid it. So, even though they only have to stand up two times a day, you should still avoid making your Talmidim stand even do those times. Amar Rabbi Lazar, a Talmud Chacham who does not stand up for his Rebbe, Nikra Rasha. He's a Rasha, and he won't live very long. And he'll also forget his living. Shedemar, v'toiv lo yeh l'Rasha. It won't be good for the Rasha. V'lo yarech yomim, and he will not have riches yomim. Just like a sail, just like a shadow which is fleeting, disappears shortly. Asher einenu yarei milifnei alakim, because he wasn't afraid of the Rebbeinu Shalom, meaning he didn't respect his Rebbe. Moirazu en yidamahu. So these are hard questions. It's a good point. So when it says we're saying it's referring to someone who doesn't stand up for his Rebbe. How do you know that that's what this pasuk is referring to? Where did it say v'yireishem? By standing up for your Rebbe. It says in other places as well. By accepting ribbis, the Torah says or when the Torah talks about equal, accurate weights and measures, it says as well. It says and in this pasuk it says so that pinpoints that we're referring to the v'yireishem of standing up for your Rebbe. What if it's your son, but your son's your Rebbe? Does a son have to stand up for his father when the son is their father's Rebbe? So now we have two factors that are mixed in. How do you deal with these things? Tashma. Shmuel told Rabbi Yehuda, smart one. We learned this Gemara just earlier. Remember we learned that Shmuel chastised Rabbi Yehuda for telling his father to quote the Mishnah differently by the Niskolins and the Nisrafim. So we know that Rabbi Yehuda was the son of Rabbi Chaskel, and Shmuel told him, "Kum mekamei avuch," you should stand up in front of him. And Rabbi Yehuda was his father's Rebbe. So you see, there's still a chiyuv for a son to stand up for his father, even though the son is the Rebbe. Shani Rabbi Cheskel, the Baal Maisim. He was not a regular Talmud. He was what we call a Baal Maisim, who is someone who does mitzvahs. So he deserves more respect than a normal person. And maybe it was only for such a type of person that you have to stand up for if he's your father, if you're his Rebbe. I'm sorry. The Gemara gets that as well. Shmuel Nami Koi Mikame, even Shmuel, who was Rabbi Yehuda's Rebbe, stood up in honor of Rabbi Cheskel because of what a Choshev Yid he was. Ella, Mike Amerle. So if Shmuel stood up for him, why does he need to tell? Why does he need to tell? If Shmuel stood up for him, why does he need to tell Rabbi Yehuda? He already had the Ma'aser Rav. If he already had the Ma'aser Rav, so what do you need to add? Why would he tell Rabbi Yehuda anything? What if you're learning by me? Shmuel told you, I'm teaching you. And as I'm teaching you, your father comes up behind me. It's not respectful for you to get up in the middle of learning with me. It's not respectful to me. So Zok to Gemara, even if he does that, I'm instructing you, ignore my cover in the middle of my shear, get up for your father. And now the Gemara clears Duvi Shaila. You know what? I have to stop here because it's 6:30, and I'll have to go back to here on Rosh Hashanah, but we still have a little bit of time, so we'll go weiter. But I'll have to start here on Rosh Hashanah. Exactly the opposite. What if your son and yours Rebbe? Does the father have to stand up for him? We've already determined that you have to stand up for your father. If he's a chosh of a person, you have to stand up for your father. But does he have to stand up for you? Because you're his Rebbe. Tashma, Tam Rebbe Shul ben Levi, Ani Eini Kedai Lamoid Mepnei B'ni. Really, I shouldn't be standing up for my son. Ela Mishum Kavod Beis Hadnasi. My son became an Edom Bar Nasi. So that's very choshev. That's why I would stand up for him. Mash Mustamazoi, because he's my Rebbe. I wouldn't stand up for him. Taima the Ano Rabbi. Why am I not standing up for him? Because I'm his Rebbe. Ha'i Rabbi, Ha'im Nekamei, I would stand up for him. So Rashi tells us, very geschmack. Ani Eni Kedai, Lamoid B'Pnei B'ni. Kasol Kedaitach, at this point in the Gemara thinks the Hachi Kamer, Ani Rabbi Shel B'ni. I am my son's Rebbe, so it's not the way I said it. I'm my son's Rebbe. I shouldn't be standing up for him. Since he did such a choshev v'shidduch, that's why I would stand up. From the fact that he said that I shouldn't stand up for him, Shemamina, the ilu haya kedai, haya talmidoi. If I was, I'm not my son's Talmud. But if I would be my son's Talmud, I would have stood up. Right? I'm not my son's Talmud. That's why the only reason why I'm standing up for him is because of Kavod Beis Hadnasi. it's mashma that there could be a situation where I would be kedai to stand up for him. That would be if he was my Rebbe. So if he was my Rebbe, I would stand up in front of him. So you have a right that a father has to stand up for his son if the son is a Rebbe. It's not appropriate that I should stand up for my son. Even if he was my Rebbe, I still shouldn't be standing up for him. Because a father doesn't stand up for his son, even though the son is a Rebbe, because I'm the father. I'm standing up for him. What if my Rebbe comes by riding? He's riding in a car, he's riding on an animal. Is that called sitting? Because he's sitting and relaxing. Or since he's moving on the animal, you have to stand up for him. Amar Abaye, Tashma. The halach is Tameh Yoshev Tachas Ilan. If someone is Tameh with Negat Tzaras, and he's under a tree and he's sitting there, he's stationary, anything that comes under that tree becomes Tameh. But if a tar is sitting under that tree and the Tameh is he's moving through, there he does not convey Tameh. So Tameh Yoshev Tachas Ilan, the tar I made Tameh, the tar becomes Tameh. But if the Tameh is standing, Tachas Ilan, the tar Yoshev, then he's tar. In other words, the tzarua will not transmit tumah unless he's sitting under that tree. If Yoshev Tameh, then the tar Tameh. If the person who was Tameh was standing, but then he stopped and sat down, then in fact he would transmit tumah. And the same thing would be not only if the person is Tameh, but whatever person is tar, but he carries in a rock that the rock has a nega on it, that would have the same rule. Well, if you think about it, if I'm carrying it, it's stationary. It's relaxing in my hand. So you have a rai from here. So when you're sitting in a car driving by, it's not called walking by. It's called you're sitting. You have to stand up if a Sefer Torah passes by. This is something that happens on Sefer Torah all the time. Rabbi Chalakia, Rabbi Simon, Rabbi Lozer, Amri, if you stand up for someone who learns Torah, surely you're going to stand up for the Torah itself. They were sitting. Shimon passed by. They stood up for him. He said, "Why are you standing up for him?" First of all, you're Talmid Chacham Poskim. I'm just a Talmud in Yeshiva, but you're greater than I am. Why are you standing for me? You're Torah. I'm just lemdeh. The Torah doesn't stand up. Why was he referring to them as Torah? So Rashi says he referred to them as Torah because when they're actively since they were in the middle of learning, have a kari lehula to Torah. He called them Torah atzma. I'm a Talmid Chacham. True, but you're actually in the middle of learning. You're a Torah themselves. So that's what he meant. Zok to Gemara. Savalach Rabbi Lazar. He holds Rabbi Lazar. Dam Rabbi Lazar. Ein Talmid Chacham Rashayim Ifnei Rabbi V'Shashasik V'Torah. He obviously held that a Talmid Chacham should not stand up for anybody while he's learning. That's why he told him, "Why are you standing up for me?" Light Allah Abaye. Abaye cursed at anybody who would listen to Rabbi Lazar, who said a Talmid Chacham shouldn't stand up, because Abaye felt that you should stand up for your Rebbe even though you're learning Torah. The Bitu Achrei Moshe. Should we stop here? Okay, we'll stop here. But regardless, we can go back here on the first day of Rosh Hashanah. Shkoyach. I'm sorry that I was late.